Welcome back everyone to our gameplay series of Transport Fever 2. And in today's video, we're going to take a step back and take a look at where all of our lines are, where the profitability is, where the capacity is, and make any adjustments that we need to, because some of these lines have now been in service for many years, and we need to come back and do a little checking on them to make sure they're where we need them as all of our cities continue to grow, which means that each of our lines continues to grow as well. So the first thing we'll do is we'll come in under the line statistics. We'll turn off the lines that we can see to show all of the lines we have, in this case for the railroads, and you can see everything is making money, at least a little bit, and that's okay. We can always come back and fine-tune them, but the main thing is they're making us money. So obviously the best of the best is our crude route for Costa Mesa, and that's because it is running full loads the entire time. We'll be taking a look at that a little bit later on. But some of these others are still doing just fine. Maybe not quite as nice as we would like for them to do, but we're certainly in good shape. What I'm looking for in here first and foremost is if we're having any lines that are losing huge sums of money, $500,000-600,000 or more, then we would definitely need to take a look at whether or not that line was even feasible. Maybe we just need to go back to the vehicles for those routes. Next thing I want to show you guys is something that we dealt with in the town of Surprise. And if you remember, we had set up our train routes to take our raw materials, in this case the wheat, down to the food factory and then the food factory. And we now have a couple of train stations on the western portion of the city as well as the southern portion of the city. And I talked about how we might need to set up some additional routes just to take those finished products into the places in the city where they're needed, but we would see how it worked out. Well, I've seen how it worked out, and I needed to come back in and set up some additional routes. So here's what we were dealing with, and we'll take a look at the bricks first. So if I click on our actual train station here, you can see we've got a little bit of highlighted portion of the city, and that portion of the city was chosen with the location of our station because that is a portion of the city that needs the bricks. So if we come in here, you can see all of this area needs the bricks, and we're only covering a small portion of that. Well, that wasn't going to get us by long term. So what I did is I came in, I put a station right here next to our train station, and then we're now delivering these bricks to one of our stops that gives us great coverage. So here you can see at this particular stop, Surprise Bricks 2, and I just added the 2 in there just in case I don't have my routes filtered down. This is the main bricks route. This is bricks 2. So what's happening here is the train is bringing all of the bricks into this station, and now we have a vehicle station that's going to now deploy those where they're most needed around the city. What was happening originally is that we were getting a little bit of coverage in a few spotted areas over here. Oops, that's residential. You can see 100%, everything was going great there, but once we got over into this area, we didn't have any coverage, so the coverage was 0. That's going to hold us back long term. So what we're doing now is we're trying to play a little bit of catch up. And eventually, as time continues to run, I've let time go a little while just to try to see if this was working as intended. But now we're going to need a little time to play catch up and probably take a look at some of our existing routes to see if maybe we need a little bit more room for growth. This is also an exciting time because you can see we've hit the year 1900 and we've got some new technology coming in. That's going to be important as we continue to grow. There are certain time periods in the game. For example, a big one is around 1952, 1954. That's when the first airplanes come in. So there are some milestones that you hit, and of course, around 1900 is another one of those. So now our bricks are doing much better. But let's see how many we've got waiting. We've got 18 waiting right now. And let's take a quick look at how many vehicles we actually have on this particular route. So bricks 2 is the route we want. We only have 3 right now, so we don't have a huge amount of coverage. But if we come in and filter this down some, then what we are dealing with, we have a maximum of 15 right now for capacity, and we're running every 79 seconds. So it's not terrible. You can see it's making a little bit of money. But the main thing at this point in the game is, first and foremost, we want these cities growing. So if we click on the city, we're up to 401 residents, well over doubling where it started the game. So it is certainly well worth your time and effort to set up public transportation routes within the city for your buses or trams, as well as covering as much of these supplies that they're requesting. We are getting huge amounts of growth from our cities for that very reason. All right, now let's come over and take a little glance at our food. And already you can see over here, we got 20 waiting. And as with before, we have a little bit of coverage here into the commercial side of things that needed the food. But with our new route, which I believe is this one, you can see the coverage we have is now huge. So a much better idea, something that I thought we might have to do anyway, which is why I left the bus stops in the locations where they were. So now those are going well. And again, as time goes on, we will continue to check these routes for adjustments. That's one of the things I love about this game, is that you're never really done. You can be done if you want to, but you're holding yourself back by not going back and continually making adjustments. So those are a couple of changes that I have made. One more that I have made offline is for the very same reason over here in Costa Mesa. So we've got fuel coming in, and right now you can see we've got 78, 73 now fuel that's coming in, and that is a huge amount. So when we originally set this line up, of course we know right over here the crude line is going gangbusters. It's making over $1 million. That is our best money maker. But then the rest of the line was really suffering because I didn't set up anything other than this limited coverage from the railroad. So now we've taken care of that. And the problem we're going to have now is that we don't have much room to expand from here unless we get rid of this road, which I really hate to do for the expansion of the city. So what we're going to do here to try to attack this issue of being maxed out, and that's what this information is going to tell us here, is that some cargo items are lost because we have an overloaded station. So let's come in and let's take a look at, so we got fuel 2, which is this line, which carrying the fuel over to the rest of the city. We only have 3 on this right now. So let's go ahead and let's add 3 more to that. Actually, we might even go higher than that. Now, we do have some additional technology that has been unlocked. However, we're not going to do that one just yet because I want to come in and do those more as a separate state. So we're actually going to add 5 more to this line. So we're going to make a huge change to this line, and we want Costa Mesa fuel number 2. So a very simple route, 2 stops, but it is going to be a very profitable route for us as time continues on. So right now, about 25,000 in profitability, but of course we've got a ton of supply that we need to get delivered. So that should help us out quite a bit here. As I back our way up through the chain, I see we've got 25 waiting, 26 waiting, and we only have a capacity of 21. So that is certainly going to be an area we're going to want to watch in the future. So we're at about 35 before it picked up, and now it drops it down to 16 with a full load. So this is certainly a route that we're going to be looking at expanding for this particular train. But the first thing I want to do is I want to come back to our real money maker. So we've got a capacity of 98, and if we click on the station, 300 is waiting. So obviously we're nowhere near meeting the demand of this particular station and the output of this particular oil well. So that's the next thing we're going to do. We're actually going to let this guy go ahead and make his delivery, and then when he comes back, we'll have him come into the depot and we're going to upgrade him because we've got some new technology which we're going to take a look at right now. So this guy, if we come in and look at the details, this guy has 386 horsepower, maximum speed 31 miles per hour, and then we have our various power ratings. Well, if we come in and take a look, now we don't have any electric or diesel right now, so we just have the steam locomotives. And here you can see already we've got some new ones coming out, so we're going to back out and let this new technology jump in. So what we're dealing with, I think, is the Baldwin, yes. So we've got, there's our 386, max speed 37, which is pretty close. I'm pretty sure that was the Baldwin train. But now we have the Mogul, which is not a huge step up as far as tractive effort, but then we jump over to the 10-wheeler, 35,000, so about double. And then we drop down a little bit. So you're still moving forward in technology. You can see the horsepower is definitely increasing. But what we're looking for right now is the tractive effort. That tractive effort is what's going to help us to move more supplies. So what we're going to do, oh, I actually missed him. So we'll go ahead and we'll just have him go into the depot. We need to get him turned around first. We'll lose a little bit of money by doing this. All because I wasn't paying close enough attention. So let's go ahead and have him turn around. And we're actually going to replace him. I think we could have done this without having to go through this process. In other words, what I mean by that is we could have just replaced him while he was out and running. But shouldn't be that big a deal. We got the game paused. And so what we did is instead of using the edit selected vehicle, which we've been using before, we're going to use the replace. So we're going to go ahead and replace this guy, and we're going to replace him with the 10-wheeler because of that tractive effort, which is more than double what we've been dealing with, and we've been going just fine with the Baldwin. So let's go ahead and grab the 10-wheeler. You can see quite a bit of money that we're going to have to pay for these up front, but we've got $43 million in the bank right now and no debt, so we're not worried about that. This is the fun part of the game for me. We get to really start making some changes. You can also see that we've got some upgraded, in this case, tank cars. So our initial tank cars had a capacity of 7. Our new have a capacity of 12, so nearly double on that as well. Some other improvements as well as you move on through time. You can see the loading speed here is at 1.0. Upgraded, it is at 2.0. Okay, another important factor to keep in mind is this top speed. It doesn't do us any good to have a high-speed train if our individual cars, whether it's the gondolas, flat cars, or whatever, only have a top speed of 50. So we'll have to keep that in mind as time goes on. So right now what we're going to do is we're actually going to load this thing up big time. And we're going to see if this works. Because remember, we can always come back in and edit it if it doesn't work out. So I'm going to go ahead and put 180 because I want to see if this will work. We've been at about half that to this point, so we're going to spend $9.3 million. That may or may not have been a great move. We're about to find out. All right, so let's go ahead and get him started. And we're going to turn him around as soon as he gets out. But you can see we've got a lot, even with the improved capacity of our new tank cars. Okay, he's out now. Let's see what he gets. Now, he should have easily a full load this time around. The key will be what happens the next time he gets back, and then, of course, into the future. All right, so right now he's going to pick up the full 180, which is awesome for us. But what we're going to do is, while we're following this guy along, we're going to watch and see if by the time he returns, we have a full 180 or somewhere around that. If we have around 160, 170, that's perfectly fine if that is something we have on a consistent basis. And right now you can see it's over 120 at this point. So what is this going to do for us? Well, obviously it's going to make us more money if this works out long term on this first route. We're going to go from making $1 million to probably closer to 2 or more. In fact, let's zoom in here and see what kind of money we get from this delivery of 180. So 2.1 on that delivery. So obviously that helps us in that respect. But the other thing it's going to do is it's going to help us all the way down the rest of the line. So now it means that we can make more oil, and also we can make more fuel, which will ultimately allow us to make more money on all the different legs of this particular journey. So if we come back to our oil, All right, we're well over 200 right now, so that's going to be great. So this so far is looking very nice for us in terms of our money. So we're about 230, it looked like, before we loaded all this up. So we're starting at around 50 or 60 on this platform. That is a very good start. That's what we want to see. And then obviously if we zoom in here, you'll see that this is going to continue to be added. And as these barrels are added, eventually they become the tanker cars. All right, that is going well, and we'll come back to this again from time to time and see if we need to add some further capacity. But for right now, we're just going to let this ride a little bit and see where we need to go from here. So that's the first thing. Now, let's go around to some of the other areas and see if our raw material transport needs an upgrade. First thing we'll do is we'll go over here to Surprise. And what do we have waiting for stone? Oh, wow, over 200 here as well. What is our capacity on this? We have a capacity of 28. Okay, so we certainly have plenty of room for increased capacity. Let's go ahead and stop this because we have train number 4, which is, I believe, the same thing we were dealing with earlier. No, actually, it's the initial model train that we start the game with, only 177 horsepower. Well, we're going to give that a sizable increase. So we're going to go ahead and activate that. Oops, need to come in and do it this way. All right, this is going to be Surprise Rock. Highlight our train that we're going to be uploading. Yeah, you can see it right there. That's the general. And we're going to replace this. And let's see what we want to do. We don't want to go as much. We don't need the 10-wheeler here because I don't think we have quite that amount of capacity yet. But we're going to be going from the general, which has about 9,000 on the tractive effort, up to, say, the Mogul, or even just the Baldwin to save a little bit of money. It's still going to give us about double the capacity, more or less, either way we go. So I tell you what, I think there's enough here to use the additional tractive effort of the Mogul. I think we're okay there. So let's go ahead and grab the Mogul. And for cargo, let's see, what are we actually doing? We're doing rocks, which I think is in the gondola. There it is, but we want the upgraded gondola, which has a capacity of 12. So we were in the 20s for capacity. I'm actually going to, let's go to about 60. That might be a bit too much, but we'll find out. All right, so we'll go ahead and replace, and you can see it replaces it right there on the tracks. And for that reason, well, one reason, it really hasn't bothered me all that much that the automatic replace function is no longer in the game. It's because it's pretty easy to replace vehicles whenever you need to without having to do a whole lot of concerning yourself with what's going on. All right, so now, so we have a capacity of 60, which again should help us all along the way. We have a capacity of 28 here, and I can already see, oh yeah, we are way behind on that, which of course is going to be huge for us. It's going to mean we need more vehicles down here. So let's go ahead and do that. These are the things that get me excited when I come in and find out that we need to add more. So train 5, 28 is the maximum. We've got 172 waiting. Again, we don't want 172 capacity on this train. What we do want is, let's see, this is the bricks route. Train 5 is the one we want, right? Yes. We're going to replace this one. Again, I'm pretty sure that's, yeah, that's the general that's on this line right now. So we're going to go up to, I think the Mogul is a good choice here as well. So let's go ahead and add the Mogul. We want cargo wagons, and this time we want bricks, which are, where are they? Still in the gondola? No, they are not. Are they on the flat car? Yes, they are on the flat car. Again, capacity of 12 and that increased loading speed. So we're just going to do the same thing here. We're going to go with capacity of 60, and then we'll let some time pass and we'll see if that's going to work. Now, the good thing about the replace we just did, you notice we didn't lose our inventory like before earlier in the video when you saw me actually send the train back into the depot here. We got to replace on the fly. So again, replacing vehicles and upgrading vehicles is pretty easy to do no matter how you decide to do it. All right, so right now, as we start to look at this next line in the chain, I'm going to go ahead and expand that because we got plenty of room to expand it here. No worries about additional roads or buildings that we would have to destroy for that. But right now we've got 45 waiting. So I think the prudent thing for us to do at this point is let's go ahead and grab bricks 2, which is our route here. And we've only got 3 vehicles. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all of these vehicles with some newer technology. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we did with the trains. We're going to go under replace, and this is what we've been using. The horse-drawn carriage, which has 12 miles an hour, capacity of 5. Now, the speed isn't the huge issue here since we're within the city making these deliveries, but the 5 is very important. When we upgrade to the steam truck, we go up to 6. We get a little bit more speed. That is huge for us. So it's going to cost us about $116,000. So there we go. We've just increased our ability and our ability to make deliveries just immediately by doing that. And the same thing here. We don't lose anything that they might have already had on board. But now we also know we've got plenty of extra supply that needs to be delivered. So we're going to go ahead and expand this route. And that means we're going to buy some more steam trucks. Let's go ahead and do 4 more. And we want to do bricks 2. All right, so now at a glance, we can see we've got 7 vehicles. And as always, we will let this run its course for a little while and see if it's working. Now, if I come up here to food, I can see that it must be pretty good because we don't have a huge amount that's waiting here. There's only 18 waiting, and within a couple of deliveries, that number will be down quite a bit. All right, now let's come back over and see what kind of wheat we've got waiting. And already you can see that takes all of it. Okay, so we're not even running full capacity here. So actually, we could get rid of a little bit of our capacity here and increase the amount of money we're making on this particular train. Now, to do that, we would need to come back into the train depot. But before we get into doing that, let's just make sure that we need to do that. You can see explosive amount of growth going from 145 to 393. Okay, we're not supplying all of the food. I was worried that maybe we were at the upper end here, but we're still a good bit away from that. So we're not maximizing the city to this point. So now let's actually come in and take a look and see. Okay, so our stop is right up here, which I think is perfect as far as the location. Yeah, that's great coverage. All right, so we're going to leave this alone. I think we're okay here. If we come back in and just take a look at the profitability, you can see the bricks route now is making us near $1 million. So that was definitely worth the upgrade. The wheat, not as good. I need that to be higher. So we're going to have to do a little bit of working out exactly how that's going on. It could be simply that we're at max capacity here, and that's just all we can do without finding some additional capacity. Maybe that's what we need to do. And in fact, that's something we're going to keep in mind for the future. We can set up an easy route through here and provide, because we have plenty of room for expansion here in the food plant. So that gives us an idea for the future. So we'll come back to that. Let's head down to Yonkers and see how things are going here. All right, so we've got steel. Okay, we're still doing this one by hand. So let's go ahead And this will be our last thing we'll get into today. We'll begin setting up our train route, because if we take a look in Yonkers, we're about halfway there right now, but we haven't had the explosive growth here that we've seen in some of the other cities for obvious reasons. So let's go ahead and see if we can help that situation out. How much do we have waiting here? Okay, over 100, and I haven't even expanded this enough. So yeah, we've got plenty of room here for more expansion. Let's go buildings, and we'll just make this a terminus since I don't think we're going to need to connect this to anything else. Okay, spin this around, and I'm going to try, let's see, for right now, I guess I'll just go straight down, and we'll do a couple of terminus systems there. That should be fine. All right, we'll put the first one there, and we won't worry about trying to make that turn. We'll just set up a separate station for that. Maybe not the most efficient way of doing it, but I think it'll work out just fine long term. Okay, those did not line up near as well as they should have, but I think we're still going to be okay. And here you can see 75 all the way, which means that no slowdowns because of the curvature of the railway. All right, so we're good. Now we need to come back in, put our depot. So another idea, just sort of while we're here, is if you want to upgrade in the future, obviously you can use this same track and then try to expand it in certain areas so that you can add multiple trains. Or the great thing about this game is you can just simply add more tracks in the game and continue expanding your capacity. That is certainly available. See, let's finish out our, oops. Let's go ahead and get connected here. Again, not terribly worried about that connection since we don't be planning to use that very much. All right, new line. It's going to be 2 stops. We don't have any 3 stops. I usually have a few trains that will run multiple stops over the course of a gameplay, but so far on this map, that hasn't been necessary. So we're going to name this Stone, and then of course we'll be getting rid of the other vehicle route. So I think we have plenty of demand here. So I think, let's see, but I don't want to go, because that would be huge. Because that's where we can get up, you know, around 200. And I don't think we have that type of capacity. So I'm going to back it down to the mogul. And you can see there is a pretty sizable increase in cost. So we're going to go mogul. And then our cargo is, I've already forgotten. Where do we put? Stone is in the gondola, okay? We want to make sure we get the upgraded one. And let's go ahead with, I'm going to go about 72 and see if that's good. So 4.8 million, again, not really a huge issue. And let's get this onto Yonkers Stone. Okay, now we've got some more work to do. And we're actually going to let this guy just run instead of coming immediately back, because we still got a couple of things to do before he gets back, or at least hopefully before he gets back. So we're going to sell off all of these. And we want to get rid of that route. And now you notice nothing is popping up over here. That's because we haven't connected the road just yet. And of course, if we don't connect the road, then nothing happens. All right, so we'll just connect from the end. There you can see the connection to our station. And now you see the stone start popping in. So we'll give that a little bit of time to work through. And next we'll look and see, okay, where are these bricks being delivered in here to see if we want to set up. All right, the bricks are over here, so we could come in right there. But at this point, I don't even think that's worth it anymore. I am, after our first experiment, trying to just use a station without another vehicle route, I am more than happy to simply set up our station sort of here on the outskirts and then just set up our deliveries into the city. That is perfectly fine with me. But before we do that and go into spending all of that money, I want to see how this is going to work out with our capacity so that I'll know what type of train we need to purchase, or if we just want to stick with the road vehicles. Because right now, I am not seeing the huge growth. Oh, wait. Do we have our connection to the road? It does look like it. Otherwise, we shouldn't have had any stone on the front end. Okay, nothing stored here, so there's plenty of room for growth here. So this guy right now, if I can get it to open up, there we go. Only 18 this time around. So it's going to be a little bit more next time he comes in, but that's one we're going to have to keep an eye on. I think over time, this is going to be just fine. It's just going to take it a little while. Remember, time moves very quickly in this game, particularly since I like to play on 4x speed. And it just takes sometimes 6 months to a year or more for things to catch up and for these factories to catch up. So this time already, you can see there's going to be some growth. We're going to pick up around 30 this time, as opposed to the 16 to 18 we got first time around. So I think our capacity is going to end up being pretty good, and with any luck, we'll be able to expand that in the future. But we've run out of time for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned as we will continue our gameplay series of Transport Fever 2.